How we doing, folks? We are back. I don't know. Would you call this an emergency pod? I don't know if I'd call it an emergency pod, but it was one where we had to get on and talk. I'm still catching up, to be honest, on the day we've had KSU Twitter. Shout out Wesley Detter. First on the day. Like and subscribe. Please subscribe. Wow. Daniel, thank you. Subscribe. Wow, our listeners are getting very good at reminding us.
Better than us.
It. Yes, far better than us. 50 minutes, an hour, 50 minutes better than us. But we had to get on and talk KState. A lot going on. As always, just really one of the dumbest rivalries ever. It feels like the storylines that come out of this rivalry over time have been, run it back to Brandon Green dunking at the buzzer, Bill Self calling it a dick move. One guy picked up a stool after KState got mad because he blocked their shot. Lots of dumb things have happened. B-Turn also will not joining tonight. Not sure what, probably gambling on sport. I don't know what B-Turn's up to, but probably winning some bets. AB, I guess, I think we got to start with the handshake. Heard around the world. It, like I said, I'm still catching up. Lots of angles. I feel like I'm breaking down film at this point. Give me your initial thoughts on the handshake. Bill Self came out pretty strongly. And like I said, a lot of takes being flown around.
Yeah, it's not something you see too often where Bill, publicly attacks, I wouldn't say, but publicly goes after or makes a statement on another team. I know he did it with Shock early this year, but we know him and Shock don't get along whatsoever, and that was a weird situation. But just to see him be upfront and honest about it, the quote I thought was worse to read than to watch. When you watched it, it was kind of whatever. It is what it is. He didn't care too much. He explained himself. He said he wasn't upset about it. But then I watched it again, and I was like, I think he's saying that to cover his ass, but he's definitely throwing some subtle shots in there. It almost made it clear that he just doesn't like Jerome Tang. And, I don't know what's going on, but there's context with the kerfuffle that happened earlier in Manhattan. And they just seem that the K-State coaching staff just seems to get into something every time they play a basketball game. So that's where I'd like to start. Is the conversation on Twitter that I've seen a lot of today is Bill Self just making stuff up to be heard. First of all, he wasn't asked. Someone directly asked him about it. Second of all, who are you more likely to believe in any scenario? If there's a situation between two parties and one of the party is consistently getting into these, these little fights or arguments or debates, whatever it is, and the other side is just kind of they're just there. They're just hanging out. Which side are you going to think is the one that's in the wrong? It's the one that's always in the fucking issues every single time they go out and play.
Yeah. I don't know what. I know stuff happened in the tunnel after the game in Bramlage. The K-State coaching staff's fall from grace. I don't know if you call it a fall from grace or what you call it, but these guys were on top of the world last year in March. They're in Elite Eight. They're playing Lil Baby in the locker room. Everyone loves them. Our guy Rico Bosco's going to hang out with them.
The biggest small boy in the world.
And now, what are they doing? You have the Iowa State stuff, which they're going to say that I think the K-State media spun that or got that. I can't remember what the takes were on that, but that was definitely the coaching staff kind of starting that. Then you have the stuff in Bramlage, which who knows, maybe our guys were talking, but I'm going to bet not especially after a loss. And then the video of the handshake is so KU K-State rivalry because it originally comes out. There's no video. People are searching the world for the video. And I'm kind of can't wait to see this because Bill was fired up and Bill's not one to really go at it, like you said, and start something like this. But then this morning, just the first video that hits the old Twitter the Twitter timeline is a video of like the end of the line, and all you basically see are KU players. Hunter Dickinson's mainly the one in the video, and then like Tang is wrapping up, shaking hands, and moving on. They're like, "Oh, case closed." This story, they clearly shook hands, and I'm like rewatching. Like, did I miss the part where Bill and Tang and the coaches all shake hands? Because no, I wasn't. There was no video at first of that, and so that starts the day. That's how my morning starts. I'm looking like, what is possibly? How does this prove anything? And then I think the next video, this might have been from Fitz, their guy. He actually tweeted. Is he the one that tweeted the next video that had the actual handshake between Self and Tang?
I'm not sure who was the first one to tweet that out, to be honest with you. But they definitely either quoted it or tweeted it themselves. It's how I saw it the first time was from KState, media, whether, quote or just taking the video with themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, I just pulled it up. So Tim Fitzgerald tweets, "Hot damn, I have it. There was a handshake. Yes, it was a drive-by, but no different than what Coach Self did in MHK. Let's move on so that K-State fans can return to their disappointment and KU fans can mentally prepare for the Houston game." He tweets both videos, the one of last night and the one of KU in Manhattan. But then our guy Jiff Hawk, we love him. The man's a video god.
Wizard.
A wizard. He tweets, I don't know if this was in the original video. I think maybe he just zoomed in, but it's the drive-by happens. I mean, Tang and Self quickly shake hands, and it is clear, but it was similar to how they shook hands in Manhattan. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Where Tang is in the wrong, and I think KU wins this argument, is the way Tang shakes Curtis Townsend's hand, right? Am I viewing this right? I obviously I am as biased as it gets, but you can't watch this video and tell me Jerome Tang did not disrespect the hell out of Curtis Townsend in that handshake.
Yeah, and it bothers me that people are forgetting that that's the context in which it was brought up or talked about. Like it had nothing to do with, did he go through the line and shake hands with Hunter Dickinson? Did he touch Bill Self? Did he shake Bill Self's hand? Like that was never really denied.
Yeah.
It was always, and I don't even know if Bill said it. I just remember Bill saying when we got our asses kicked in Manhattan, all of our coaches shook all of their hands, which to me was like, okay, then it's a coaching staff thing. So yeah, it's the video is crazy to me because it basically tells us what we all heard last night, and it's being spun in a different way that I don't know, dude. I'm gonna get so frustrated talking about them making up narratives because like it's constant with every single thing they've never been wrong in their lives. They just haven't. And they're gonna try to spin their way and make little excuses and this and that until they figure out a way to sneak out of this and look like the good guys when they rarely do.
I mean, yeah.
And by they, I mean the Kansas State Twitter fan base.
Yeah, I just find it hilarious that this is now the second video they've posted and been like, argument over. Oh, it's over. No story here. And in this second one they did. The first one didn't have the handshake. So it was like a nothing burger, of course, because it was just nothing. The second one, Tang straight up blows past Townsend to the point where Townsend turns around like immediately. Also, look how close. So I love that we're breaking this down like it's a Zapruder film.
It was more interesting than any of the game film that we're going to watch.
Yeah. But if you look at our staff walking through, they're all pretty close. Tang is 10, 15, 20 feet, yards, 10 yards in front of his entire staff, just blowing through that line literally like a kid in middle school hoops that's pissed that he lost and is like his mom's making him shake hands, but really he's just ready to get home. Like that.
Go through the motions.
I don't know. I don't know what else you say about a handshake, but I thought it was hilarious the way the videos evolved throughout the day. And this one, I don't know when. Yeah, Jiff Hawk tweeted this out 6/11. I don't even know if he was the first one to do it, but just so funny to me because it proves that what Bill Self said was accurate. And I don't know why anyone would think that Bill Self would make that up.
He's because what does he have to gain from making that up?
Yeah.
Like that's the question I have, or the answer I haven't heard yet. What is the end game of him starting a beef with the in-state rivals coaching staff? Is he just sick of not having a true rival, wants some juice, and it's been a frustrating season? He wants to hate someone. I respect it. I don't think that's true. Like, no. I don't really see Bill as that kind of guy, at least publicly like that. So that's why it's never made sense to me from their side is like, what's there to gain? Bill's so calculated with everything he says in those pressers. We've seen it for 20 years now. Mm-hmm. He's not just going to let something like that slip up. He knows that's going to gain traction. He knows that's going to get talked about. So, like, again, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say, I guess it comes down to if Tang is going to stay in Manhattan for the long haul. We'll see. But I think we can all agree it was kind of hard to dislike Tang last year. I mean, I thought he was cheesy. I think it's corny. I think it's very corny to hop into the student section after screaming at the fans to not storm the court. Whatever. That's all been talked about. But it was hard to dislike the guy. You could tell he cared. You could tell he was so happy to finally be running his own show. And like I said at the beginning, he was at the top of the game. Couldn't have had a better year. And I am very excited that Jerome Tang has quickly become pretty unlikable. I joked on Monday that he is morphing into Bruce Weber. I can't tell you how funny it is for him to be like, Cincinnati, NCAA tournament game, loss. Then to double down after even their fan base didn't like it, to double down and be like, you know what? Tuesday's Sweet 16 matchup against Kansas Jayhawks. And to lose by 22, and I'm not kidding. Bill said this in postgame. If we just make layups, we 40 ball them. We literally would have won by 40 if we just make our layups. So I don't know. Are we secretly loving the Jerome? I mean, I think we are loving it. That he just sucks and is kind of unlikable at this point.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for the boys out there. It is crazy to see how quickly it happened to go from like nationally. He was the name. And I heard some people saying yesterday that they don't think he's gone, but I thought that was a done deal because of the shit that went on with like the administration and everything. So maybe he's just throwing it in. I don't know. But it's pretty typical, I guess, that cheesy works when you're good. Cheesy is the worst when you're bad. And the first thing that comes up for me is Rex Hudler. If you try and watch the Royals game with Rex Hudler calling it, and their record is 48-97, and it's the end of August, and they're getting blown out by the Chicago White Sox, and he's just like, well, they're not too far away. You know, they just need a knock, a waka, bloop and a blast, and it's a tie game. And it's just like, dude, they're 50 games under 500.
Oh,
stop it. It's not fun. So, like, but it's funny to see when it's not the team you root for. It's actually a team you actively hate. So, yeah, it's quite the fall from grace. I don't want to give up on him yet in terms of a coach. Like, I don't think he's just going to suck forever and then get fired from KState in 4 or 5 years when his, Elite Eight runs out. But boy, it's been fun to watch, and it's been a nice way to lighten the frustrating season that we've had on our end.
Yeah, oh man, that's such a good point. Like cheesy and like overly happy. We all know those people in life that are like, is this guy actually this happy and like a joy to be around? Like, is this fake? And when things are going great in their life, you're like, wow, I really do believe this. And then things start to go wrong, and you start to see things like this where he's there. I mean, think about Big 12 play has only been going, 2 months? And he's been involved in the Iowa State thing. He had the thing in the tunnel. That was the staff. I don't know if that was Tang, so not fair. But and then you have this on top of just, it's almost like, I don't know the whole situation with the president, and I know K-State fans were really frustrated with that. And I think they're they have the right to be, but he made people mad during that. I don't know. It's just been very interesting to see I even think their fan base is getting a little tired of him. But to your point, it's because things aren't going well. And
Right.
he's also overly happy when things aren't going well and saying they're playing in Sweet 16 games and losing both. I just can't get over they lost both. That cracks me up.
Yeah. The big, we've talked about this. I don't know if we did on the pod or if it was just privately. It's great to see it play out like we called last year, where you can't expect to win every single year and be a team that can go on a legitimate tournament run every year when you don't fall ass backwards into a superstar point guard and a guy that's a superstar transfer that had very serious medical limitations and questions before coming to Manhattan. You don't fall into that every year. That's lightning in a bottle. And I
didn't want to say it.
You were the first one to say it. But like, it's just great to see that play out in our reality, because I think everyone knew, except the ones that wear purple that are about 2 hours east or west of me currently. Everyone thought the same thing.
I mean, it is and credit to him for taking advantage of having Noel and Johnson. Like, he took that team. Really 100%. Should have taken them to a Final Four. But it kind of, it's like he almost, that was the worst. I mean, getting to the Elite Eight was probably not the best thing that could have happened to him. If you're not going to get to the Final Four, you might as well just lose in the second round.
Because that's easy for us to say, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you set this big expectation, and it's like you go get Tyler Perry. And so now your fan base is like, oh, cool. We just got another Noel. And you go get Arthur Kaluma, who I know wasn't ever going to be a Keontae Johnson. But, yeah, I don't know. We don't need a deep dive on the K-State offseason. But we got I think a couple other things I want to talk about. Just because we don't get to talk about this rivalry too often. We don't get these things come up that often. Some of the takes I loved last night, and I'll let you, and I guess I can give you the floor on this one, but I'm going to set it up. Early in the game, Michael Jankovic took a charge. He's a walk-on. He's never really played, a fan favorite, and it was, our college refs call charges all the time. And so, of course, Alan Fieldhouse wanted it to be called a charge. It was not called a charge. The place booed. They then showed on the video that the call, and they all kept booing. The crowd kept booing, as one does at a college basketball game. Mm-hmm. I was at the game. I didn't even notice that there was a K-State player injured. But even if someone did, there were some takes being thrown around Twitter from K-State fans that how bad of a look it was by KU to boo an injured player, which was an all-time, like, I don't know if you call it a spin zone. I don't know. I know you have some takes on this, and I'd like to just give you the floor.
Yeah. It was the most diabolical take that I have ever seen in my entire life. And we've seen some bad ones from that fan base on Twitter. We've seen some bad ones from our fan base on Twitter. This isn't just a K-State thing, it's a sports thing. But the fact that multiple people with decent followings that have been making Jalen Daniels can't stay healthy, LOL, whoa, yo, you guys aren't going to be very good. You're so excited about Jalen Daniels this year being your quarterback. Remember when he wore the Apple Watch around his neck and played highlights from him? And now he can't even walk out of his front door and play? All the jokes. For 18 months, they've been joking about the health of our starting quarterback. And then the KU fan base, all 16-3 of them, were booing because they thought they got screwed over on a call. And they decide to act like it's the most disrespectful thing in the world, that coincidentally, those two things, the injury and I don't even know if it was a charge, but that's
Either
what
way,
they wanted it to be.
It
doesn't matter.
Jankovic, of course,
because every fucking college basketball fan base in America is going to boo in that scenario. We were both of us were in Manhattan for the K-State game last month. Mm-hmm. They booed calls that were far less controversial than that one.
Oh, yeah.
Far less. We watch games at Baylor where we called it out this past weekend, and Iowa State where we call it out every single week. Fans boo when they think they got screwed over, especially in a game where it's a rivalry game. There's a lot of passion. People care a lot. Of course that was going to happen. So because of some freak coincidence, these people, and mind you, they have followers. They aren't like random idiots with 6 followers that just live in replies and hate their lives. These are people that a lot of people see their shit, and they start this narrative that KU fans are just the lowest pieces of shit and K-State fans are the holy grail of college sports fans. And it made me so mad. It was the same thing that happened when they lost to BYU, where I like had tweets that I wanted to send and I couldn't do it because I couldn't put it into words to accurately describe, kind of like right now, I can't put it into words how I accurately describe my feelings about this situation. But dude, can they just like wake up and like realize the reality they're in? I told you this before we jumped on the pod. It was the first time that since I've had my beef with K-State Twitter. This is a long thing going. It's not the first time I've had issues with them. It's the first time that I sat back and looked at my phone. I hit the side power button and I said, maybe I'm the issue. Maybe I'm the one that's too stupid to see that these people are just fucking with us every single day and they're not serious. They're just doing it to piss us off. Now, I don't know if that's true. I actually don't really think it is true. But the fact that I, by myself, sat there in my chair this evening and thought, maybe we're the dumb ones. Maybe we're the ones missing out on the joke is pretty damn insane.
Yeah,
there's one other Twitter part that I'd like to talk about. It's a little bit different. You can kind of give me a follow-up if you have anything.
I was just going to say I don't think I get quite as fired up about it as you, but I definitely this one was just so funny because I usually don't get that into the KU KSU Twitter stuff all the time, but I will say during football season, I think it was mixed with Elon switching up Twitter's algorithm and I'm just getting they are throwing every KU K-State thing at me that they possibly could. And I was blown away at how much that fan base was mocking a college kid for having a back injury while playing a sport. I really was not that I'm classless. I thought it was really odd for especially a guy that had not beat them. It's not like Jalen Daniels had beat them or talked a bunch of shit to them, or they have owned us in football. So it was so strange to me to see them just hate and go after Jalen Daniels the way they did. And then for me to see those takes last night coming from the same exact people, we're not just referencing KSU fans as a whole. No. We're meaning the same Twitter accounts that tweeted making fun of Jalen also tweeted last night saying that KU fans were booing an injured player when it couldn't have been more clear that they were booing a charge. So it sums up this rivalry, and KU fans have done really dumb things on Twitter too. But it sums up this rivalry so well to me. I've always said it. I'll never not say it's a rivalry because the dumb stuff that's happened over the last 10 years in this it's a rivalry, and I love it. What's your other Twitter moment or thing you wanted to talk about?
I won't say his name. People already know who I'm talking about in the comments.
Oh yeah.
A certain someone that heard legitimate rumblings that a certain player was going to transfer out of Lawrence, Kansas last year, or this year, I guess. He tweeted today, and he said, I just will never understand making stuff up. There's always a video. There's always proof, essentially, is what he's saying. For that to come from him after what just happened in the last few months literally blew my mind. It was what?
I almost respect it. I almost respect it. Maybe it was just all an engagement play. Maybe he was just you know what'll get me tons of engagement is if I act like making things up that are wildly false is not okay. Like, I don't know. It was such an absurd thing to tweet that it made me think, kind of like you said, maybe it was a joke. Maybe he was doing it to be ironic.
He could be, but does he have it in him? I don't know him at all.
I don't know him either.
But I don't know. Even if it was a joke, it's like back to the whole, like, we had this conversation when the story during football season was going on. Like, it's one thing for the burner accounts and the fanboys and fangirls to joke about that kind of stuff. It's another thing when his job is to report on the team. Now, obviously, they're different age groups, different age brackets. Imagine if Gary Bedore was doing that.
I would love that. That'd be amazing.
I love Gary so much.
Imagine Gary getting in the beef.
He makes me smile so much when I watch post-game pressers and the midweek pressers. It's just, he's the best.
I love it. I
wish
he had a podcast. Does he? I wish he had a podcast. I would love to. Yeah, we should get his takes on everything. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have any? We got more to talk about.
Yeah.
By the way, we've got over 1,000 people in here watching. So please go. If you're watching on Twitter, that's great. Throw us a follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, please. But what we have yet to talk about, AB, is that last night was an absolute shit pumping.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of a rough 10 minutes early, I think, and I think the crazier thing was KU, if you really look at it from like I don't know if you'd say box score, but shooting percentage, certainly shooting percentage around the rim, really didn't play that good, but it was fun to finally blow someone out, certainly fun to blow them out. So I got to ask, because we've talked all about this, what are you taking away more from that game? And I think I know what your opinion will be. Did KU maybe start to get things going a little bit? McCullough looked really good. DeJuan continues to look good. Hunter played a little better defense. Or is K-State just that bad? And Allen Fieldhouse, I mean, it was just a kind of a recipe for disaster for them with us coming off the loss to BYU. What are your takes?
Can I say it's a mix of both? I think individually, there's a lot of things to take from it. I don't know how that will impact my opinion on the team as a whole. Timberlake got hot for the first time. Like, truly hot. When we thought of Nick Timberlake, we thought of him coming off the bench and hitting, multiple threes. I don't think we thought 4 in a game. But we thought of him hitting multiple big shots to open up the offense a little bit. And we haven't seen that really at all. So maybe he gets hot. That would be awesome to see. I still need to see it a few more times, but thumbs up, Nick. Great time.
Yeah. Hey.
Dickinson on defense legitimately looks like he has overnight improved like I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. What was once a liability is now in my opinion, semi-true rim protector. I thought he looked better. It's back-to-back games with 4.
Oh, okay. Blocks. Okay. So you're saying you actually kind of believe that, yes, we got Gurley in the building. I love it. Welcome, Gurley.
Our lives are boring too. At least you're not on the show recording, Greg.
So you're bought in that Hunter's could actually be a rim protector?
Yes, because it's been multiple games in a row. This isn't a one-off we saw BYU. It's 3 games in a row now where he's looked like a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. And that's what was very frustrating for me earlier on in the season was it felt like despite him being 7'2", that we gave up a lot of easy layups and a lot of easy buckets around the rim. And again, I'm not expecting him to go out and play National Player of the Year level. Just the threat of him being able to block 4 or 5 shots on any given night is plenty for me. It changes everything stylistically for the other team. Their shorter guards are going to be scared to go in there, so they're going to stay out and spacing. It's everything. It's what we talk about with our offense. So yeah, super impressed with that. Super happy with that. DeJuan has just been unbelievable lately, and it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit, but this has been the last month where he's just been more than we could ask.
I think he's averaging almost 12 a game, 6 assists. We've said all year, I think we even said on this pod a few months ago, if you can get 10 a game out of DeJuan, and that was the fun stat was anytime DeJuan scores double digits, KU mostly wins. I think why it's kind of gone under the radar these last few weeks is because DeJuan has been hitting double digits, and we've also lost like 2 of those games. So it's just, but that's why I know it, it's hard to get totally bought in because the road thing. Now, some would say, can't confirm, but some would say you don't play any road games in postseason. And from what I can tell, the Hawks have only lost 1 game on a neutral floor. So, and why else would we watch this tournament without trying to convince ourselves that this team can make a run, this team can figure it out? And like you just mentioned it, if you get even, you're not going to get 4 threes a night from yeah, Gurley's like, I don't need your guys' analysis. Just talk more about the handshake. Gurley probably had like a front row look.
Should I send him the link right now?
Gurley, you want to hop on? You could. But yeah, I can get bought in because DeJuan's looked good. If Timberlake shows anything like that, and then if Dickinson plays that good a defense, and McCullough is, I don't know if you'd call him 100% healthy, but he's still playing at a very, very high level. So I think I don't think it's that crazy to think that this team, you could at least start to convince yourself that this team could make a run. And
this is exactly what I said was going to happen.
I know, but like, what? What's the point? Like, why are we here? Why else?
I agree. I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that this was so predictable that we would win a game. We would blow K-State out of the water, and honestly, not look super great at times, and come on here and say that it's exactly what happened with Houston. It's what happened with Texas. It's what we do, and it's why we're the best. Not us two, just KU fans in general. It's why we're the fucking best. Is we can see a game against an NIT level team in Allen Fieldhouse on senior night, all of this, and turn itself into this game's massive. It's huge. It's the season changing right in front of our eyes, and it might be, but I'm not just going to let that result where we were complaining in our text thread throughout the whole game that it was a boring team to watch. They're not that fun sometimes. The layups they were missing yesterday were not real. And there are still so many concerns I have. But like I said, we kind of need everyone to figure it out and play their A games. And there are certainly multiple players on the team over the last couple of weeks that are showing signs that maybe their A game isn't too far away. And if they can all pull that out and they can all do it together in a 3-week stretch, of course they can go on and do something special. I'm just not going to predict it right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I love this fan base so much for that exact reason. I mean, we are literally days removed, myself included. Like, I straight up was like, this team's not good. I think I called them bad at one point. And here I am, like last night, I'm like, well, Dickinson plays good, protects the rim a little bit, Final Four run. Like, I just love how much we can flip-flop. But that's what's so fun. And that's what's so fun about having Bill Self as your coach is, like, truly, Bill Self, if he finds something and something clicks, it'll work. And this team will get hot. And that's the one thing that the other thing, I guess there's multiple things that have me with my hopes up. But we have not had a stretch where we really got hot and were able to string together like a 5, 6, 7 game winning streak. Even last year's team, I think they lost 3 straight, almost lost 4 straight, lost 4 of 5, I think. And then they won 7 straight and like won the Big 12. And so maybe we're just a few weeks behind where that team was. The other thing I was going to throw out, and I don't know the answer to this, if anyone in the chat does, I was trying to think back. So Furphy really started to look really good early Big 12 play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, weren't we still kind of like, man, DeJuan's got to get it going? Why is DeJuan's kind of, he hasn't improved much. So we hadn't seen Furphy and DeJuan playing great at the same time. Well, then DeJuan started to play a little better. I think DeJuan got better around the KState game, or at least about a month ago. But at that same point, McCullough was hurt, not playing well because he was hurt. And then he sat out a bunch. Well, now you've got McCullough back. You've got DeJuan playing good, but now Furphy's kind of, I don't know. He's
struggle.
Yeah. So
freshman wall.
That's the other thing is I don't think it's crazy to think at one point over these next few weeks, all three of those guys could start to all play really good basketball. And if those three guys are playing really good basketball, this team can play with anybody and can make a Final Four. So, like, I think that is a true, all jokes aside, I think that's a true positive spin on this season.
Ryan, the way that you just explained that to me was the best explanation I've heard all year from either you or Braden as to why I should believe in this team. So I appreciate that.
I love that.
That was good. I didn't realize the timing with all those were so like lined up with each other. We still need to see it happen though. But I guess it could. I mean, when was Furphy really cooking? Like, when did he start dropping off? Was it?
Well, I remember
K-State. It's probably K-State.
First half in the UCF game, I tweeted that we were going to win the national championship, and then we lost, so that was tough. But he continued to look good against. I think he was even like pretty good against Westphal. Was he good against Houston? Because we beat Houston.
Everyone was good against Houston.
Yeah, we beat Houston. And then, Furphy struggled at K-State. And has it been since then? He's had some games where he's been decent. I think at OU, maybe. I don't know. So, I don't know. I feel like Furphy he's going to look better here in the upcoming weeks. DeJuan's DeJuan. I fully trust that DeJuan can continue to play at this level. I think the big question mark becomes if Kevin's health can keep him in it, but it doesn't appear that. I know he's in pain and it's hurting him, but he's looked really, really good these last two games.
Was there any comment in the post game about him looking like he got banged up a little bit toward the end of the game?
Yeah, but
like when I think it was number 8 for K-State, whoever that is, hit a 3 when he kind of like shook Kevin a little bit. You could, and it was easy to tell because it happened right in front of Bill. So you're looking the main camera at Allen, you're looking directly at Kevin's face. Clearly was in pain, clearly looked a little awkward with how he landed, and the limp was significant. But he kept playing. Like he didn't play much longer because the game was almost over. It was almost walk-on time. But I just didn't know if there were any comments about that or if you were concerned about it at all. Because if Kevin goes down again, well, we might just be shit out of luck.
Yeah, I didn't see that from where I was sitting. I think Haney was talking about it a little bit, but I also think somebody can correct me. I was actually listening to the first half of the Baylor game on the radio, and if I remember correctly, they had said something about McCullough doing kind of the same thing, wincing, maybe asking out, knee was hurting, and I was in the car like, oh my God, we bring him back and he's already out after the first half. And the second half, he was, very active, played decent. So I'm not that concerned about it. I'm not a doctor. I do not understand this injury that well, but to me, it seems like it's just something that's going to suck. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be fun to play with. But if he just continues to kind of re-aggravate that, I'm not sure it's something that will like end his season, if that makes sense. That is the most medical knowledge I will ever throw out on this podcast. So I'm not too worried about it. I really think he's just going to have moments where he's in a lot of pain and will limp. But I think when the time has come, the dude has looked very, very healthy.
Yeah, he looks fine. Are you concerned at all with the layups situation? Because and we can go strictly with Kev, but by the way, just bringing this up again 3 days after we talked about it the first time, just want to retell everybody what Fran said on Saturday, that Kevin misses 1 out of every 100 layup attempts he had, and then he went out and missed 5 straight. But just in general, it was like, and maybe it was because the game wasn't very close, but it's been happening pretty consistently this year. Brother, bunnies, all of them, everyone in the starting lineup. It's just like KJ had one where he was wide open. He could have dunked. I don't know why he didn't, and it hit the front of the rim and went out. And then he had another one a couple seconds later where he threw it off the backboard and almost cracked it. It's like, man, dude, they're bunnies, and the offense struggles enough. If they're going to give you 2 points, you gotta take advantage of it there, man. And it really like annoyed me yesterday, even though we're up by 30 points when it happened.
I mean, especially when you're a team that just does not like to shoot threes.
Right.
It's like you kind of got to be really good at layups.
They're valuable. They're so valuable.
I think that's a fair trade-off.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sound like John Calipari 2008 and be like, when people are like, "Hey, are you concerned that your team is shooting 40% from the free throw line?" And he was like, "Oh, when they matter, we'll make them."
They did not.
Can confirm. But to me, it's like I lose sleep over a lot of things. I'm not going to let Kansas basketball making layups be the thing that has me too stressed about this team. It could be the thing that cost us a game in March, but I kind of think, I don't know, law of averages has not done well, but even DeJuan was struggling a lot with, at the rim early in the year, and I think he's improved quite a bit. Feels like he has.
Mm-hmm.
So
he looks explosive, dude. Sorry.
I love it. This is what we've wanted out of DeJuan. And it feels like during this stretch, he hasn't been making threes. He hasn't been shooting the ball that much. He's scoring, getting the bucket, runners, things like that. Plus, if he could add, just give me one DeJuan 3 a game, I'd be so happy. I love every time he shoots, I'm happy because I really do think. But he's been doing all this, putting up these numbers, not actually making that many outside shots. So that's also one thing to positively spin.
Mm-hmm.
The layups thing, I don't know. What can you say? Like, can you really just suck at layups?
No, but it's also like, what can you really do about it at this point? Like, either make them or you don't. And it's not like telling someone to improve their range and start, working on a jump shot. It's like, you've been shooting layups since you were 4 years old. Like,
and it's
just kind of something. It's got to be a mental thing, right?
I think, and it's not something Bill Self can fix. He may, bully you into making more, I think, but I don't know if so. Yeah, if we lose because we miss layups, it is what it is. That team probably wasn't going to win the national title anyways. Mm-hmm. Remember the first half of the national title game, 2022? That team could not make layups either.
No, they sure couldn't.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the big topic from our last podcast that, I don't know if you want to do this. I'm happy to do it because I've never felt more right about anything in my entire life. But I understand I'm a little bit cherry picking because of how the team looked. The team looked fairly good. But for those of you that did not listen to our last episode from Monday, me and old Tony Backs here got in a little bit of a screaming match, debating whether or not if Hunter Dickinson asked to come back or wants to come back to KU, if we should take him. I took the bold claim and said, yes, I will happily take the guy averaging 20 and 10 back on this team. I don't know what else you would do. AB, I'm going to let you word this yourself because I don't want you to get frustrated with the way I say this because I know you're not saying Hunter Dickinson is bad and you don't want him because he's not good. So I'll just let you explain your side of the argument.
Yeah, I appreciate it because I do want to clarify my thoughts on it all. By no means do I think either option is significantly better than the other. And by no means do I think Hunter's not good or valuable to a basketball team. I just want people to acknowledge that running it back with that core 3 is a little bit insane by definition. You hear the quote every time. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's kind of where I'm at with it because we see it. Obviously, the games at home where I sound like I'm beating a dead horse with this, they're a little bit different, and we can all acknowledge that. Bill Self has won 95% of his games at Allen Fieldhouse. Every time they say it on a broadcast, it just makes me laugh. It's like 3-17 and 18 since he got to KU. It's just stupid. It's dumb.
Yeah.
But every time we lose, we have the same conversations. The offense doesn't look very good. Man, there's spacing issues. Boy, KJ and Hunter can't really play that well together because their styles don't really complement one another. That's my whole argument with this, is that it just running it back with the same essentially pieces that we are very annoyed with very consistently this year is not something that I just feel is like a lock as the best option in that scenario.
So,
but at the end of the day, I think this might sound bad. We might just be screwed regardless. Not screwed. They're going to be fine. We're going to get excited. They're going to consistently be a top 10, top 15 team like they are literally every single year. But if we're talking about a national championship, I'd rather almost take the unknown, and I know we know it a little bit because we saw it last year, but I'd almost try and run it back and try and find 3 shooters to surround KJ and DeJuan than 2 guys that can shoot and, go from there. So, again, I get your point. I know you were murdering me in Twitter likes and responses, and the fan base seems to be on your side, and that's fine. I just want to acknowledge that, like I've been saying, it worries me a lot if our plan is to run it back and hope that the transfers hit better this year than they did last year. But again, because I know your response is going to be, well, in the other scenario, we're going to need an extra transfer to come in and pick it up. So, again, neither option seems super ideal, but that's kind of what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, and it sucks to be you because this take definitely has people being like, why would you let Hunter go? He's good. And I know you're not saying Hunter's not good. Now, I still stand by. I think it's absolutely insane to be like, I would rather take my chances and have Bill Self try and figure out how to play KJ at the 5 again, which we can all look back and say, oh, that team was good, but we all had question marks on whether or not that team could win a national title playing a 6'7" center. 6'7", maybe generous. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, I don't think that was that awesome of a situation to just be like, oh yeah, we can make that work, because to make that work, you got to go find probably a top 3 shooter of the Bill Self era. That was Grady Dick. Jalen Wilson was a first-team All-American that season. And Kevin McCullough, I mean, I guess he wasn't a great shooter, but still really solid player. So, those were some dudes surrounding DeJuan and KJ. And so if we had a roster full of guys that I thought made sense to plug in around KJ and DeJuan and KJ at the 5, I'd still have a hard time ever saying, oh, I don't want Hunter Dickinson back. But if we had the personnel to make that happen, I could get on board. But to me, I'm pretty convinced Bill Self can find a way to make this work. I don't know how, but that's why he's Bill Self and I'm talking on a podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's I bring this up, and I don't even know how good of a take this was, but me, you, B-Turn, were talking about this the other night. If you look back at 2021 Kansas, some would say, I think we discussed this the other night, might be the worst team of the Bill Self era. 2021, no fans, awful year. That team started Marcus Garrett, Ochai, CB, Jalen Wilson, and David McCormick. All that team did in that offseason, yes, Bill Self had the takes. We got to go get more athletic. We got to go get scores. We got to go get guys. You went and got Remy, but for most of the year, you didn't get much out of him. You went and got Jalen Coleman-Lands, who, yeah, he was timely at times, but wasn't really a huge key part of that. All you really did for that team was you swapped DeJuan with Marcus Garrett. But what took that team getting really good in 2022, the following year with DeJuan being the starting point guard and playing with those guys, Ochai took a step, became phenomenal. And I already know what you're going to say back to this, but I'm just going to finish my point. Ochai got really good. CB got really good, turned into a first-round pick. And Jalen stayed really solid. And Dave, we've talked about, I don't know what you would call Dave, but he stepped up when it mattered. So, to me, it would have been really easy to look at that lineup in 2021 and say, burn it down, blow it up. We can't ever roll this out again. It makes no sense because Ochai and CB weren't really great shooters yet, and Jalen was struggling from 3, and Dave was certainly not for sure the answer. But Bill just found the way. Those guys got better. And I'm actually, last night, I've started to talk myself into, if Hunter Dickinson, KJ, and DeJuan are all three back next year, I think this team will be a wagon. I think they will. I think they'll be really, really good.
Yeah, I don't love that comparison at all. But I can see why it's valuable because at least, Ken Palm wise, they're pretty similar, the 2021 team and this team. My biggest issue with it is I don't know that I can see the three guys we would be bringing back this year. I don't know that they can get to a level significantly better than what they are this year, like the guys you just named from that 2021 and 2022 team were able to do. Like,
yeah,
DeJuan, like we know what DeJuan is, and he's great. For him to take that next level, it would be DeJuan turning into a legitimate National Player of the Year candidate. Can he take the Frank Mason jump? Can KJ Adams take a significant jump and also improve his style from the outside in a way to make him a threat to beat you from 24 feet out, not shooting every time, but you get what I'm saying. And then Hunter, is fifth-year Hunter going to be significantly better than fourth-year Hunter? Like fourth-year Dave was better than third-year Dave? Like that's where that side of the argument kind of loses its steam for me because I just don't see it. And I don't think it's possible because if they all make those jumps, we're kind of looking like an NBA team at that point with, who they are now. And my problem is it's a weird conversation to have because this year, if you go down the route or at least the starting five, what can you really say about them? Like there's no one that you can really look at and point and say, man, he really needs to step it up like on a consistent level. They're all five of them are great basketball players, are great college basketball players.
Yeah.
And when we look back at 2021, it's like, well, you got to have a feeling that CB can take a significant step. And I don't know, I'm just going around in a circle here, but that's kind of where I lose interest in that side of it.
Yeah, and I guess DeJuan, KJ, Hunter, none of them are taking the jump Ochai did. That Ochai was literally working out with Damian Lillard and was the best player in the country at times. That's probably not going to happen. But I saw a comment, Eric, he talked about, I don't know, it brought something to my mind. Like if you think about all the Bill Self teams, how often does Bill Self have a team that's successful that has more than two newcomers in the starting lineup? Like I just threw that out. I have no idea, but like let's think back to Bill Self's best teams. I think we would say 08, bunch of returners. 2010, bunch of returners. 2011, bunch of returners. 2012, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say they're one of our best teams ever, but like, you know what I'm getting at. Bill Self seems to be better when he gets to play with guys that have been in his system for a long time. And I think the argument could be made that look what he's got right now. He's got a bunch of guys that have been in the system for quite a while. But this is Hunter Dickinson's first year. This is Johnny Furphy's first year. So is it like the more I'm talking about it, it's like it's crazy. It's even crazier to think we're having this conversation because I am so convinced Bill Self will make it work with those three next year. What if I threw this at you? What if I promised you like Johnny Furphy returns? I don't think he will, but let's say he does. Does that change your argument at all, or do you still just?
I was actually going to ask you about that because on the surface, it's the same conversation that we've been having for the last week. Of course, you want a guy like Johnny Furphy to be back on the team. But then it almost adds to my concern, too. It's like, well, I don't like 3 of the 5 guys that are playing together right now because I don't think they fit, and we get frustrated with them every day. They're barely a top 40 offense in KP. How about we bring back a 4th guy on that starting lineup and bring him back? Like, there are flaws on both sides, and I actually do think Furphy being back helps because it's more certain that he's going to turn into a consistent outside shooter. And I think his growth, he's the guy that could take the Ochai CB leap and on like a national level be a truly good college basketball player. But where was I going? Oh, no, I would basically what I'm saying is I would trust Furphy to emerge as a star more than I would trust transfer X to come in and make that jump that Furphy could. But I still do somewhat see a flaw in like that strategy, I guess. But and here's the other thing. I'm just a lot of this is coming from frustration. Because the expectations were so high going into the year, and we just haven't really lived up to them. So a lot of it's frustration. I'm sure maybe I'll come down and we'll talk in June, and I'll completely change my mind when they're about to make decisions. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's dumb we're even talking about it, but I truly was like, I felt I needed to get more of that argument off because
we play the number one team in the country on Saturday.
That was my next question. One, what is the latest Ken Palm projection? I know lines probably are not out.
He's got 73-63 Houston.
So big possibility. The Hawks are dogs by double digits, which we've expected.
When's the last time that happened?
I don't know.
Gonzaga? Remember that? It was the 2021 team. First game of the year.
Were they double-digit favorites or underdogs?
It was.
I feel like it was like 9, but maybe it was.
I don't think this is going to be double digits for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't either, especially because Houston wrapped up the Big 12 title tonight, right? So, I said it Monday or whenever we recorded last Sunday. Is there any shot Houston takes their foot off the gas a little bit? The Hawks are desperate. We go in, we win at number 1 Houston. And let's just pretend they don't take their foot off the gas. I'm never going to admit that if that's what happens. Let's just pretend we go in and win at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Are we back?
Yeah, if we go in and beat the number 1 team in the country on the road, I think I will be much more confident in the boys going into postseason play.
What's so funny is we're still going to have to play Wednesday in the Big 12 tournament if that happens, I think, won't it?
Well, it looks like BYU might win tonight. Did they win? They're up 1 with 2.5 to go. Yeah, we would need BYU to lose either this one or I think they play like Oklahoma State at home on Saturday. So they're probably not going to lose if they win tonight.
State.
Mike Boynton's last regular season game as a Cowboy.
Mike Boynton.
My guy.
I'm going to hate. I know I've made this joke a couple times, but I'm dead serious. I'm going to hate seeing Mike Boynton on podcasts with Rob Douster and Jeff Goodman next year, breaking down Big 12 hoops. I can't do it. Mike Boynton's too nice of a guy to be doing that. So hopefully he's a great vibes guy, I imagine, though. So maybe he'll get like an assistant job somewhere.
Can I just ask you something that we were just talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga couldn't have been only a 4-point favorite, right?
I think that KU team was like a preseason top 6 team. So it's first game of the year, and on paper, one, it's Kansas, it's Bill Self. We had also just had the best team in the country the year before. It's also COVID. And from that team that had just won a ton of games, you had Marcus Garrett, Ochai. Like on paper, that team looked like they could be good. Oh man,
that's a regret that I have now. It's not Gonzaga -4. I've seen it multiple places now. So that appears to be the line. Damn, dude.
Why? Yeah, that is shocking. For some reason, I thought it was. I felt like I remembered tweeting like Bill Self 7.5 point dog. I'm hammering that, which is basically what I tweeted last Saturday against Baylor. So
and you'll tweet it again this Saturday, brother.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. I will say this. I thought Tuesday was as easy of a – now it's easy to say because I won a lot of my bets, mostly all of them. But as much as we've made fun of KState, that was a worst-case scenario for them to walk into Allen Fieldhouse after us losing to BYU, us losing to Baylor and desperately needing a win to get going. Also, we had just missed 1,000 free throws in Allen Fieldhouse the week before, and we made like all of them last night. Mm-hmm. So just funny. Tough scene for K-State to have to walk into that buzzsaw, but you'll love to see it.
Yeah, that was a pretty predictable one. You got to love when those happen. There's 1 or 2 a week where I'll send you guys a text or just in my own mind be like, yeah, this team's winning tonight.
Yeah, it just felt like you had to lay some money on the Hawks. I don't know, man. I mean, we got 1,600 people in here. I hate to leave because this is fun. Do we have anything else we need to discuss? Do we have any more K-State beef that's come up? Have there been any new angles of the handshake line since we started this podcast?
I've been trying to avoid it at all costs at this point. I can't. There's too much stress in day-to-day life to be worked up over, I'll word it nicely, dumb people's opinions. And I saw plenty of them today, and I've had my fair share of them today, and I will just clock out until tomorrow.
Yep.
In terms of that conversation. But
by the way, I'm gonna finish with reading this off because our guy Vernon tweeted out the screenshot that I was reading you before the show that I said I didn't know if I wanted to share on this because I didn't know if he was going to share it, but now he's tweeted it. So referring to the handshake, this is from Mike Vernon on Twitter. He got a screenshot of a guy that was sitting front row of the handshake. So to wrap this all up, referring to the handshake line after the game, I was sitting front row last night at midcourt, and the KU staff absolutely got a blow by from Tang. He definitely shook Self's hand without either of them saying a word, and the assistant coaches took the brunt of the flyby, which is what we were kind of saying at the beginning, looking at that video, the way Townsend turned around. Townsend immediately turned around and looked like he mouthed, "What the fuck?" with a grin on his face. Love that move. And kind of put his hand in the air. You could barely catch this in the Fitz video. Not sure Tang truly shook anybody's hands besides Self until he got to KJ. Tang embraced KJ with a quick hug, then continued to storm off. Juan and Hunter proceeded to laugh at the end of the line at Tang's antics. Didn't seem like a huge deal, but Tang was definitely throwing a little fit, and the KU staff seems to have had enough of his antics. Some stuff maybe boiling over from Manhattan earlier this year.
It's fair. There's one more thing I'd like to add to this conversation, and that text made me think of it again. I want to acknowledge I don't give a fuck if he blew by. I do not care. That is not the part of this conversation that's getting me fired up. Rivalries are fun. This is good for a rivalry. If Bill Self and Jerome Tang hate each other, maybe it's not great for them. It's going to be great for us. It's going to make those games that much more exciting. It's going to make us want to win that much more. Like, I do not care if the coaches have beef. I do not care if they fly by in the handshake line. I honestly don't think handshake lines still need to be a thing. It's 2024. Like, the NBA doesn't do it. I guess it's nice, respect, but it's just like, it just kind of looks a little bit goofy to me, to be honest with you. My issues with the reaction of it and the narratives being spun in every way that you can imagine. But I just wanted to make that a point that these guys having beef is not the worst thing in the world when it comes to getting excited about basketball. Because last night we hinted at the game was not very exciting to watch. You love that KU won. You always love beating the shit out of those purple folk. But in terms of a basketball game and even level of hype going into it, I promise you, if they play each other in the 6 versus 11 game in Kansas City next week, that's going to have a lot more buzz than we felt going into this game or even the game in Manhattan. Yeah. So I'm all in for some coach beef.
So am I. That's like I was saying earlier. Last year when I would make jokes to you guys man, Tang's a cornball. This is so cheesy, but it was still hard to dislike him. Mm-hmm. It's more fun to hate your rival's head coach. Yeah. Bruce Weber, I've always said it, was the perfect character to be at K-State because he kept them just good enough, but they mostly sucked. But then he'd have one really good year, which bought him 5 more years or 3 more years. Their fan base hated him. He was corny. Bill Self hated him. It was the most perfect match ever. And so Tang was kind of like, oh, God, this guy might actually be good. And I can't even really make fun of him that much. But he's made that happen. Now, I tweeted this last night. Remember when old Scott Drew, I think Sharon and Tyshawn have told this story on this exact podcast. Scott Drew once took the Baylor staff and team. By the way, Jerome Tang was on that staff. During our KU intros, video, and starting lineup, Scott Drew took them out into the tunnel, didn't watch, didn't acknowledge. which does not happen, by the way. So it was totally fair for Bill Self to feel disrespected. And it was never really public that Bill Self was disrespected, but it was clear that Bill Self has never liked Scott Drew. I think that's been one of those well-known things. But what I loved about it is, like, if you think back to KU Baylor 2010 to 2020, really, I mean, Bill Self just bullied Scott Drew. Even when Scott Drew had really, really good teams, 2017, we go into them top 5 game at Waco, we win that game. You think about the T-Rob dunk, that like every time Baylor walked into Allen Fieldhouse to what felt like a decade, it was an absolute shellacking. And I would love to see that happen again with this Tang thing. Like, I hope this, you know what would be even funnier? I hope during Bill Self's like retirement speech, he's like, yeah, I was going to retire in 2025, but Jerome Tang pissed me off in a handshake line so much that I decided to go at this another 10 years just so I could like beat him by 20 twice a year moving forward. So, yeah, all that to say, I love it. I hope they hate each other. Our guy Kyle Coffey says Iowa State BYU game is a banger. I don't have a TV up here. I don't know how to watch.
64-63 Iowa State with 53 seconds to go.
Wow.
Now, that is a game cast, so surely there's been 8 other possessions that have happened since that was last updated, but last I saw that was the score.
Chat, update it. Keep us updated. I want live chat updates.
Speaking of live commentary, how did we get stuck with Jay Williams last night? It was like I heard Dan Schulman on the intro, and I was like, let's go, boys. Or is that his name? Dan Schulman? Yes. We just talked about him the other day.
Yes, Dan Schulman. He's the best.
I don't know why Drew Schulman came to mind for a second. That's not. Maybe it's a Scott Drew conversation before.
Clones up 3, 22 seconds left.
Bang. Jay Williams, man.
Oh, wait. Brady Vaughn. My guy. If we're going to publicly be, we got, I love, we've got
it's only made it more confusing.
We're trying to give live updates and we get maybe not in the chat. 22 seconds left, Iowa State. Oh, they didn't count the basket. So I am beyond confused. Okay. 64-63. I think Iowa State's winning.
Yes. So it sounds like if I were to draw this up, and this could be a fun little thought experiment. In my head, if I were to draw it up, it was Iowa State went in. It looked like maybe a continuation and one. They were going to have a 3-point play opportunity. They waved the bucket off, 2 free throws instead. Apparently misses them both, which is crazy. I expect BYU to hit a game-winning 3 as time expires.
Wow. Wait, and we definitely need BYU to lose.
I mean, sure. To play Thursday?
Yes.
That's just not even on my mind. What's wrong with another game? It could be KState.
It's just like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of just trashy to be playing on Wednesday. You know, I don't even like to.
Well, the real trashiness is the games that are going to be going on Tuesday afternoon. They don't even give them a primetime slot. They're playing at 11:30 a.m. and 2 p.m.
What are those tickets going for?
They might be handing them out for free.
Oh, yeah. They might be paying people to show up.
Yeah. I bet it's
BYU.
A lot of work events. Jesus.
Must be nice to have BYU not execute late in the game. Wouldn't know. So BYU's had 3 straight turnovers. They missed a free throw, or I don't know.
I'll tell you how the game ends right now. I mean, it looks like it's trending that way, but come on, dude. Say it out loud. Was BYU going to win at Allen and at Hilton twice in the same week? $15?
If you pay $15 to watch Big 12 basketball on Tuesday, you need help.
There was
serious help.
The year that I'm gonna need your help figuring out who else was in this tournament. It was the year Mo Bamba was at Texas. Yeah. And there were 2 like pretty good games going on that first Wednesday night with the 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9. I can't remember exactly who it was.
So that would have been
it was what's his Trae Young. Oh. Yeah. Was it not?
Oh. Yeah. So
I think I saw Trae Young play Oklahoma State and then Mo Bamba play someone for like $4. at night on a Wednesday with stars. Now, the 15 might be taking into account that a local team is going to be playing on opening night of the Big 12 tournament, opening day, excuse me, the Big 12 tournament. That might probably be the answer. But still, I was not expecting to see $15.
Shout out to these guys. I mean, people really are doing a live play-by-play in our chat, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Iowa State up 1, double bonus, made the first. Yeah, that was a fun Big 12 tournament. So did Trae Young, they got beat early, right?
Yeah.
They were like I feel like they were like the trendy team to make a run in the Big 12 tournament that year because could Trae Young be Kemba Walker? I remember those takes.
The Trae Young stuff was Zion before Zion. We got Trae Young like sections on the bottom line ticker for every college game you'd watch.
Dude, he was very sick though.
He was, but not really. They stunk in conference play.
Oh, well, BYU loses, which means I think we also need – who else do we need to lose?
We need Tech. Texas Tech. They play at home against Baylor on Saturday. If they lose and we win at Houston, then we will not be playing on Wednesday. But let me tell you now.
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's just simple. Just win as a 10-point underdog on the road against the best team in the world and expect Baylor to win a game on the road as well in a tough spot.
Of course, I love this. We thought this sums up college basketball so well. We think the game's over, but now they got to go review the clock. We're going to have a replay review. This game won't end for another 25 minutes.
No, it's like we're in a competition, us two versus that game, to see which one's going to end first. It's kind of crazy. We're just kind of kicking the can down the road, but
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I had a whole thought about this Saturday situation and if the Hawks could somehow find a way, but I don't know. Also, I guess I'll throw this out there not to get deep into this conversation, but as we talk about if we win, we're going to be really excited, obviously, and we'll talk ourselves into like winning a national title. Of course. What happens if we lose Saturday against Houston in similar fashion as we did against Baylor? We play well, we hang around a little bit, but at the end of the day, we just can't keep up. They're better. Are we just going to go right back to melting down? Like, that's what's so funny. I don't know, myself included, if I have the maturity to just be like, hey, you know what? It's a loss. It's just so much harder when it's your 9th Big 12 loss.
Yeah. God. 8th, right? 8th.
Well, it would be our 9th, wouldn't it?
No. We're 10-7 right now.
Oh, it'd be our 9th loss of the season. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure we'll melt down over it. It just really depends on how they look. Because I don't know that did we really melt down after Baylor.
I think that this team was bad.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that was a lot of frustration.
Yeah. And I didn't see the first half where things looked good. So all I saw was the second half.
I think we went into the Baylor game thinking that, we could win this game. I don't know that we're going to go into the Houston game feeling that way. Which is kind of insane because those games don't come up very often when it comes to KU. There's
really
one more
sucks.
thing. Sorry, go ahead. You can finish with that. This does not have to do with the game or teams or anything at all.
I was just going to say it really sucks that we could have got if KU just plays well this year, we could have got a top 5 matchup in Houston with the Big 12 title on the line, and we would have got the most vintage Bill Self road win of all time.
Well, Ryan, I got great news for you. Next year, we can open Big 12 play up in Mexico City in a top 5 matchup against Houston instead.
So dumb.
Speaking of dumb, this might be my last point of the episode. The Big 12 Conference, they tweeted out the team specialty menu items at the tournament this weekend.
Always
KState has a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
They had something that was horrible last year. What was it?
It was a corn dog or something.
Oh, it was bad. It's like whoever is deciding on this is purposely trolling KState. Peanut butter. What's KU's thing?
A fried PB&J sandwich doesn't sound that bad. It was just funny to see everything else is just like this gourmet. As gourmet as possible.
The Wabash Cannon dog. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I got to find a picture. And I'm going to do that thing where I show my phone on the screen and you get mad because there's a glare.
I won't get mad at you.
I don't know if this is real. This is from Cyclone Larry on Twitter, so take it,
The goat.
Is that really the Wabash
Whoa.
Cannon Dog? There's one option. R.I.P. Oh my God. R.I.P. to the Wabash Cannon Dog. Could you imagine being like, yes, I'll take that one, please?
In theory here, I assume it's grape jelly to match the color of their team. Grape jelly does mix pretty well with sausage type, products. If you throw some grape jelly on a sausage, egg, and cheese for breakfast, I ain't going to look twice. I'm not going to look twice at all. A little sweet and savory is a very good conversation. A very good, I don't know why I said conversation. It make no sense. I meant combination. But the way that looks, it looks like when you're having tummy issues and you slam some Pepto-Bismol and then you wake up the next morning and your shit is black because that's what Pepto does to you. That's what that hot dog looked like.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that wasn't necessary to give that visual. Sorry. My last thing that's that's pretty funny about this is like if you go down the list of all the other things, it's like Baylor brisket sliders, glazed brisket with sweet slaw on a bun. I guess BYU has Cosmos churros.
I would fuck one of those up. Too bad the
caramel-filled churros topped with sweet cream drizzle, mini marshmallows, cinnamon sugar. I think I'm gonna get one of those.
Is that the cougar churro or whatever they called it?
Cosmos churro. The UCF has a orange soda and vanilla ice cream.
Fuck, you're kidding. No, that sounds like the greatest thing of all time. A little dreamsicle vibe. Oh my God. Yeah. So back in college, you don't tempt me with a bottle of vanilla Burnett's and a 2-liter of Orange Crush because that absolutely slapped.
Interesting.
Yeah, I might bring it back for some Arrowhead Stadium tailgates this year for the 0 tailgates I show up to, but 6 that I say that I'm going to show up to.
You are never going to guess what Cincinnati's is.
Chili?
Yes. I knew you would guess it. It was a joke. We'll serve up the Cincy Cheese Coney, a jumbo hot dog, Cincinnati-style chili topped with onion and cheddar cheese.
Sounds fire.
I'm going to be honest. If you're at Power and Light all day, all weekend, you're drinking, chili dog is just a wild move.
It's a strong move to make.
It'd be like 4 16-ounce beers in and be like, you know what sounds good? A chili dog. I'll be right back, boys. Almost worse than being like, I'm going to go get that cannon dog.
Yeah. Though I'll defend chili dogs and like chili cheese fries really quick here. You got to be at an outdoor game and it's got to be below 50 degrees for that to hit in an in-stadium environment. If you're doing it in a heated or I guess air-conditioned T-Mobile, I don't know what the weather is next weekend, on top of, like you said, there being a party district that you're spending hundreds of dollars every time you go up to the bar to get a shot and a beer. That's a tough decision, and that's gonna hurt you for the semifinal on Friday. If you're having that in the quarters on Thursday, it's gonna ruin the vibe.
Yeah, it's a wild move. I will. Yeah, Houston has a Shasta's brisket tacos, chopped beef brisket, corn and black bean salsa, cilantro, lime on corn tortillas. Yeah. I mean, it's probably really good. Iowa State. Wow, the ISU green chili pork walking taco, green chili pork, shredded lettuce, sour cream, cheddar, and pepper jack, all packed into a bag of Doritos.
Yep, sure.
Not my style, but I could see how someone would love that. Here come the Hawks. Big J's loaded mac and cheese should be a hit.
What's it loaded with?
Pasta.
Is it just the Bill Self from 23rd Street?
No, creamy cheese sauce, house smoked pulled pork, barbecue sauce, crispy fried onions with a dash of pepper flakes. Now, I'm not trying to be biased. That sounds fantastic. That might be worth paying $15 to go watch them on Tuesday just to get that like fresh right when they get it going.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get down. I just wanted to read them all because I find it so hilarious. Where you're like, ooh, mac and cheese, ooh, sliders, street taco, brisket tacos, and then it's like KState, the Power Cat PB&J. But no, I just saw that.
That's what I was giggling about over here.
KState, a fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich topped with powdered sugar. Honestly, if that wasn't a KState thing, would we laugh? I think that sounds pretty good.
Yes, because I still think it sounds pretty good. But it's the definition of when you're driving in the car with your mom and you're like, "Can we get food?" And she says, "No, we got PB&J at home." That's what this is. And I feel like a lot of parents are going to say that to their children on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week.
I mean, there's going to be a grown man, 9 beers deep, that's like, I got to go get that PB&J. I'll be right back, boys.
Ryan, have you ever smoked a joint and eaten an Uncrustable and craved nothing but because it's a euphoric experience? I've never had a fried PB&J, but I'm sure it only makes it better. I wonder if it's almost like a funnel cake vibe. It kind of is what I'm like, a stuffed funnel cake, which now I'm talking myself into this. This might be the best item on the menu. If that's what they're shooting for, because nothing does it to me like a funnel cake. Nothing. And if that's what I mean,
it's been a while since I had a funnel cake.
You have any funnel takes?
Mini. Oklahoma onion burger, an all beef patty topped with Tabasco fried onions paired with a ranching dip. I'm reading all these and like you're making noises. Just like every time I'm reading, I just hear, "Oh yeah."
It's pure electricity. Yeah. You'd be surprised to know that we haven't lost a single viewer since you started doing this, which is crazy because this is stylistically the worst podcast we've ever done. But I love it. Not football.
I don't know. Hearing you just like give full-blown analysis on why something's good is actually very entertaining.
Well, let's keep it going.
Yeah, so OSU's Orange Power Pizza, topped with pepperoni, sausage, ham, sweet pepper bacon, mozzarella, cheddar cheese, and a ranch drizzle.
That's
a lot.
That's lazy to me. That's a meat lover's pizza with a ranch.
No.
Can I tell a quick story?
Brother, it's an Orange Power Pizza. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. I was at a pizza place in Arkansas last year, and I was sitting at the table, and the table next to us, the waitress was like, "Do you want any ranch with this pizza?" And the guy just couldn't fathom that people used ranch with pizza. He just simply couldn't do it. He like argued with the waitress for like literally 3 minutes, just like, "People do that? That's disgusting." And it just went on and on and on. Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. One of the most beautiful places on earth that never gets talked about. Ryan, you would love it. 9 beautiful, pristine golf courses that get national love. It is a retirement community. I believe you can rent out Airbnbs, though. It's a great little spot. 8 miles long, super wide, in the mountains, trees everywhere, a lot of walking paths, great golf, great lakes, great place to be. Grandparents no longer live there, and it makes me sad every day.
Wow.
Go ahead with the menu.
I actually did have these last year, I believe. I think they're rolling this back out. The Cowtown Loaded Tots. Fried tater tots, spicy queso, chopped house smoked brisket, corn and black bean salsa, topped with horn frog, purple sour cream. I think all my friends got that last year, and I just gave in, but it was one of those things where it was like, it's kind of good. Like I
think Alan tweeted a picture of it.
Yeah. So today. I think I had that. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was just there and I tried it. Either way, I'm not.
I will say the picture that he took made it look a lot worse than the picture that they're probably advertising, which is standard for this kind of stuff.
I mean, do you think the man or woman working in the concession stand is taking the time to drizzle that on like that?
No, but that makes me. This is going to be very niche for people just around our age. Do you remember when Heinz was doing the different colors of ketchup when we were growing up?
Oh, yeah.
The purple, the green. I mean, that was a time, and that's what that reminds me of.
That is true. I love to think that we just had 6 new listeners pop in, and we are breaking down menu items from the Big 12 tournament. Actually, we're almost at 1,800. We're up at 1,800. Listeners are going up as we discuss food. On to the next one. The Texas Tech the Masked Rider Burger. The Masked Rider Burger? I feel like they could have come up with a better word. The Masked Rider Burger, or
they
a
should
better
have just
name.
done Mahomes into it or somehow.
Yeah. An all beef patty, cheddar cheese, a fried onion ring, sweet pickled jalapenos, and Red Raider barbecue sauce. Yeah. Man, that's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Oh boy. We're on to West Virginia.
Sounds like something I would tweet after we have a bad loss.
And then lose to West Virginia after that bad loss. We'll be serving the Mountaineer pepperoni roll.
Peppy pennies?
This is the laziest. Sliced pepperoni and mozzarella cheese layered into a buttered roll.
Hear me out, though. That is fire. It's lazy, and anyone can do it. But a good pepperoni pinwheel is a top 8 appetizer that you can find on a menu. Go to Hy-Vee Market Grill, get yourself some Peppy pennies during happy hour and a $2 beer, and you'll be on cloud 9.
Yeah, I'm not a big pepperoni guy unless it's on pizza.
I'm almost the opposite. I like pepperoni more by itself. Wrap a little cheese in it, make your own, just as a charcuterie board, charcuterie, whatever that word is.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, some of that action. Do we have any others?
I think that's it.
In regards to Kyle Coffey's last comment of, fellas, I thought we were wrapping up. I'd just like to read a text that I received before we started this podcast.
Oh, boy.
It was from one Ryan Hart that said, I know I say this a lot, but would love a quick 30-minute pod just talking KSU storylines mostly. We have currently gone 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 40 seconds.
And the toughest part about this is Hannah is sitting, across the hall in the room. And I'm going to have to walk out of here after being like, oh, I'll be back out in 30 minutes and be like, so here's the thing. We had to talk about all the food items at the Big 12 tournament. And that is why we went an hour and a half. But don't worry, it was really important and we needed to do it. So, yeah. But I do think we should wrap it up. That way I can at least say got it under an hour 30. But wow, I would say our most listened to ever live show.
Ryan, I have the numbers for you. Let me tell you how much the most listened to. And I don't mean to dunk on anyone here. The most listened since we started back on our own and have gone solo that we've gotten concurrently was when we had Christian Brown, Tyrell Reed, Tyshawn Taylor, and Greg Gurley all on the show at the same time. And the most listens we got at one time during that episode was 179.
Wow, that's bad.
We are cooking on
this
one.
We are. 1,834. I mean, we started talking food items at about, 1,500? We've gained 300 people that tuned in and were like, yeah, I'll stay, as AB made noises about the Big 12 menu. So, yeah, thank you all for listening. This was fun.
Subscribe.
Hashtag Bill Self was right. It was a blow by. The footage is out there.
Don't let them tell you.
Subscribe. The Hawks are winning at Houston on Saturday. Rock chalk. We'll see you then.